Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Daurin Sagulov and let us begin. UN member states have approved the establishment of a regional UN Center for Sustainable Development in Almaty, Kazakhstan's largest city. The prestigious international status will enable the coordination of UN projects and initiatives in development, economics and environmental sustainability across Central Asia. The platform will also facilitate Afghanistan's integration into regional problem-solving efforts, a particularly critical issue amid growing water resource challenges in Central Asia. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev first proposed the creation of UN hub in Almaty in 2019 during his address at the session of the UN General Assembly. At the time, he emphasized the importance of maintaining Central Asia as a region of peace and cooperation. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev held a telephone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, the Akorda press service reported. The two leaders noted the dynamic development of Kazakhstan-Russia relations, emphasizing friendship, good neighborliness and strategic partnership. They also discussed trade and economic cooperation, highlighting the successful implementation of agreements previously reached at the highest level. And let's move on to the international agenda. US President Donald Trump addressed Congress, reviewing the first weeks of his administration. While much of his speech focused on domestic issues, trade policy, already labeled as a trade war by the media, was a major talking point. Trump announced that starting April 2nd, the US will impose 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada. Speaking on the issue, the American president stated that for decades other countries have imposed tariffs on the US and now it is time to respond in kind. The decision comes despite the public exchange of insults between Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who previously called Trump's tariff policy a foolish move.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair.
In addition, President Donald Trump stated that his administration plans to implement sweeping tax cuts aimed at improving the country's economic situation. During his election campaign, Trump had already outlined a new tax plan, which includes the elimination of taxes on tips, pensioners' social security and overtime pay. However, opponents of the tax reform warn of significant budget shortfalls if the plan is enacted. According to estimates from the Tax Foundation Analytics, scrapping the tax on tips alone could cost the US $118 billion over the next decade.
And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there, they're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
President of Ukraine Vladimir Zelensky has announced that negotiations between Ukrainian and American delegations are set to take place next week. According to Zelensky, the two sides have resumed engagement and Ukraine is looking forward to constructive dialogue. He expressed confidence that the talks will mark an important step in strengthening cooperation between Kiev and Washington. US officials have confirmed the meeting is being prepared and will take place in Saudi Arabia. However, details regarding the agenda, participants and key discussion points remain undisclosed. An emergency summit of the 27 EU member states took place in Brussels this week. At the meeting, European leaders officially approved the plan previously laid out by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The plan centered around how the 800 billion euros designated for Ukraine's support would be allocated. Additionally, the leaders discussed the possibility of securing a loan from the European Investment Bank to boost the region's military capabilities. So, what is Europe's unified stance on achieving peace in Ukraine? My colleague Balzhan Samigulina has more on this developing story.
Today, Europe prepares to go alone on Ukraine as President Donald Trump has paused all pending of the U.S. military aid after a heated conversation in the Oval Office with Volodymyr Zelensky. White House officials said Washington would review whether U.S. financial support given to Kyiv was contributing to a solution to end the war with Moscow. Meanwhile, the U.S. also cut off vital intelligence sharing with Ukraine, but Donald Trump administration officials indicated this pause could be temporary and talks were ongoing around the deal for Ukraine's rare earth minerals.
We have taken a step back and are pausing and reviewing all aspects of this relationship. But I just got off the phone before I walked out here with my counterpart, the Ukrainian National Security Advisor. We are having good talks on a location for the next round of negotiations, on delegations, on substance.
NATO has participated in military aid over the past 3 years, but the question now is whether Europe can continue this without U.S. support. According to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, the U.S. currently provides 49% of Ukraine's aid, including 4.5 million rounds of ammunition. The EU, however, has delivered 1 million, falling short of its target. It has promised 2 million rounds of ammunition this year, but experts say that may not be possible due to current challenges. They warn Europe may need to double its defense spending to fill the gap left by the US under President Trump. In London, European leaders have proposed a new plan to help Ukraine. However, Europe remains divided on defense spending, and not all are on the board with a peacekeeping mission. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, for instance, has expressed concern, arguing that strengthening defense could derail peace talks, and he made it clear he would not allow that to happen. France suggested a one-month ceasefire, but the UK disagreed, and experts worry European troops in Ukraine might not deter Russia from escalation.
In the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion. Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace.
Although Europe is divided to some extent, many Ukrainians and Europeans agree on continuing military aid to Ukraine, maintaining Russian sanctions, and increasing defense spending. The head of the European Commission, after the US announcement cutting Washington's aid to Ukraine, announced Europeans' response, an ambitious plan to rearm the continent.
Europe is ready to assume its responsibilities. Rearm Europe could mobilize close to 800 billion euros of defense expenditures for a safe and resilient Europe.
While von der Leyen's Commission can propose solutions, it's up to 27 EU leaders to support it. The plan could include financing defense through loans and grants, but getting support from measures like tariffs could be tricky, analysts say, especially with leaders like Hungary's Viktor Orban opposing it. Meanwhile, the US remains Ukraine's largest donor, providing nearly $65 billion in military aid since the beginning of war. This includes over 200 howitzers, 3 million rounds of artillery, HIMARS missiles, Patriot air defense systems, and crucial intelligence. Ukraine's drones, now a key asset, rely on Starlink, owned by Elon Musk, one of Trump's key advisors. Meanwhile, the CSTO has said it's ready to help resolve the conflict, but only if official request by member states. The organization's spokesperson further clarified that this assistance would be in full accordance with the decisions of the Collective Security Council, highlighting the importance of a formal, agreed-upon approach before any action is taken. Balzhan Samigulina, New Time.
Hamas has threatened to kill some hostages if Israel resumes military operations in Gaza. Any escalation of aggression against the Palestinian people will lead to the execution of several captives, Hamas representatives declared on Thursday, March 6. According to Israeli authorities, 24 hostages and the bodies of 35 abducted individuals remain in Gaza. Among the living captives are a young soldier with a dual Israeli-German citizenship and a Thai national, according to Israeli sources. Meanwhile, the White House has confirmed for the first time that the US is in direct talks with Hamas over the hostages, marking a significant shift as Washington had previously refused direct contact with the group.
We are having discussions with Hamas. We are helping Israel in those discussions because we're talking about Israeli hostages. And we're not doing anything in terms of Hamas. We're not giving cash. We're not giving $6 billion like you hear other administrations give. In fact, I got 59 hostages out, and we gave nothing. In 59, we gave nothing.
Meanwhile, Israel has come under intense criticism after deciding to suspend all food imports and other humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza. The move comes as Israel warns Hamas of further consequences if the fragile ceasefire, brokered by the United States, Qatar and Egypt, is not extended. Cairo and Doha have accused Israel of violating humanitarian law by using starvation as a weapon. The first phase of the agreement, which included an increase in humanitarian aid deliveries, expired on last Saturday. Under the second phase, Hamas is expected to release dozens of remaining hostages in exchange for a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza and a long-term ceasefire. Let's move on. Kazakhstan's economy is set to outpace China's growth rate, but maintaining stability and implementing reforms will be crucial for sustaining this momentum, said EBRD chief economist Beata Yavorchik in an exclusive interview with New Time. According to the EBRD's latest regional economic prospects report, Kazakhstan's GDP growth is projected to reach 5.2% in 2025 before slowing to 4.5% in 2026. The agriculture, construction, trade and transport sector have seen the highest growth rates, while mining and quarrying experienced a slight decline due to reduced oil output. Professor Yavorchik also highlighted that 2024 was a record year for EBRD's investments in Kazakhstan, with 900 million euros allocated across various projects. Watch the full interview now for more insights. So, Professor Yavorchik, thank you very much that you agreed to do this interview. Let me start with this question. The EBRD recently downgraded its growth forecast for Kazakhstan. So, what's driving this slowdown, and what needs to change to get the economy back on track?
We expect Kazakhstan to grow faster than China. We have actually upgraded our forecast for 2025, and the base effects meant that we made a slight adjustment to next year's forecast. Now, what could be done to further accelerate this growth? Well, there is no silver bullet, but changes to business environment, improvement of institutions, having stable and predictable policies could always go a long way.
In your recent reports, you've warned that the retreat from globalization could harm the global economy. So how might this fragmentation of economy impact our region, and what should we do to mitigate the risks?
We no longer talk about fragmentation, but rather reconfiguration of global flows of trade and foreign direct investment. In the data we've analyzed on new greenfield FDI projects, we see a big decline in the flows of FDI going to China and Germany. We see next to no FDI in Russia. And then we see countries that pursue multi-vector geopolitical policies seeing an increase in interest of investors. These countries include Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, as well as Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. And what's interesting about these countries is the fact that they are receiving FDI from all over the world, from the West, from China, from Middle East. And in the case of Kazakhstan, FDI flows are coming not only into mining, but also in a range of industries, including food and beverage, manufacturing, transport, financial services. So this increased interest of investors bodes well for the long-term growth rate.
Let's move to another topic. Considering current geopolitical situation, you warned that rising defense spending can take resources away from a long-term growth. So how should our region balance it needs to have investments in security and at the same time balance with the investments in education, innovation, infrastructure?
It's difficult for every government to balance short-term pressing needs for expenditure with expenditure that bears fruit in the long term, such as investment in R&D, in support for innovation, investment in education, or even infrastructure. And while countries in the region have been in the past decades benefiting from catch-up growth, from catching up with advanced economies, they need to think about switching their long-term growth model towards model based more on their own innovation. In our report, we have analyzed the list of 2,000 companies with the largest spending on research and development globally. And there is not a single firm from the region. There are only 2 firms from the post-socialist countries, one from Hungary and one from Slovenia. Perhaps that's not surprising, but it underscores the importance of boosting innovation. After all, over the last 20 years, the share of China in that list went up from 5 to over 25%.
I've got one more question. In 2024, EBRD increased its investments in our countries, especially in Kazakhstan, in Uzbekistan. What are the top priorities for you?
Last year was a record year for EBRD's investments in Kazakhstan. We invested more than 900 million euros in a range of projects. For instance, we supported constructions of 600 kilometers of high voltage grid that would connect the western part of the country with the rest. We have supported investment in a wastewater treatment plant in the city of Aktobe, so city with more than 500,000 inhabitants. We have been the largest investor in renewable energy generation. So in other words, we are combining regional development with effort to support diversification of the economy. And here it's important our activity supporting small and medium-sized enterprises. We provide not only financing, but also advisory services and training.
In Kazakhstan, the lower house of the parliament, Majlis, presented a new bill addressing artificial intelligence. The potential of AI was widely discussed this Monday at the table of the deputies, with its influence expanding across sectors. While members of parliament said that AI's benefits were clear, concerns were also rising, particularly over its misuse by fraudsters, including the growing threat of deepfakes. The bill has sparked a heated debate, with both supporters and critics voicing their opinions. What exactly does this landmark legislation propose? New Time reporter has the latest on the ongoing discussion.
Local maxima, where you don't realize basically how dumb you were.
This is deepfake example of what is possible with powerful computer and editing.
AI is reshaping the world, and with it comes the rise of deepfake videos created using the images and voices of people without their consent. While Kazakhstan's laws don't yet address deepfakes, there are penalties for content that harms a person's reputation or involves fraud. And now lawmakers are considering classifying deepfakes as criminal offenses, potentially introducing criminal penalties for their use. This could make Kazakhstan the second country after the EU to pass a dedicated law on artificial intelligence.
In this case, the use of information technology is treated as an aggravating factor, and we already have relevant legislation in place. However, when it comes to defining the details, we'll need to revisit it in a month. The main issue is what exactly falls under this. If it involves misinformation or harmful content that damages someone's reputation, these would be considered secondary offenses. We will, of course, discuss and establish the appropriate penalties.
New legislation in Kazakhstan aims to ban fully autonomous AI systems. The law will prevent the creation and implementation of systems that make decisions without human involvement. Lawmakers state that this will reduce the risk of uncontrollable consequences. In terms of safety, Deputy Smyslyeva explained that AI will be classified by risk levels, with stricter regulation for systems impacting public health, government, and decision-making. Deputy Dovlet Mukayev also warned that as AI drives progress, it could also increase unemployment and decrease literacy rates.
If restrictions are not introduced, in the future when our students become university graduates and enter the job market, we will feel the consequences in 20 years. I think this is one of the greatest threats to our country. While reviewing this bill, the working group must pay attention to this proposal.
Some deputies, however, expressed concern that overly strict AI regulations could stifle the country's overall progress. They pointed to the EU's restrictive laws, warning that major companies such as OpenAI and Google might relocate to countries with more relaxed regulations. In response, Kazakhstan is now planning to launch a national AI platform aimed at fostering the development of new technologies. As part of this initiative, developers may be required to inform users when interacting with AI, such as chatbots or automated services. Baljan Samigulina, New Time.
In the last decade, we've seen incredible advances in computer vision technology. Smart cameras today aren't just recognizing objects, they are revolutionizing industries. From security systems to autonomous vehicles and even the smart home ecosystem, the possibilities seem endless. Bezdin.ai startup is taking it to a step further, combining AI to not only recognize objects, but to understand them. Currently being tested in Singapore and Hong Kong, the startup is now looking to bring this technology to the US, starting with Hawaii. My colleague Baljan Samigulina recently sat down with the project's founder, Aybek Nurtazaev, to get the inside scoop. Here's the conversation.
Hi, Beck. It's nice to have you with us and welcome to our program. AI is indeed integrating into our life quite fast and faster than we could expect, and your Bezdin AI project is at the forefront as well. Could you please unpack the idea of your project? As far as I know, it's based on the technology that allows cameras to see through the human eyes. What does it mean exactly?
Hello, the main idea of Bezdin AI to enable cameras not just to see, but to understand what's happening in the frame and assist to people to making the right decisions in a real time. We can call AI with eyes. For example, with the help of our AI model, everyone can adapt all of the cameras for your specific tasks. For example, if you are owner of the school, you can just give a command for our AI. For example, if you detect some illegal actions like the fights or smoking, you should send alert, and so on. Everyone can adapt our algorithm for your specific needs. It's a main idea.
So it's based on the video analytics, as far as I understood. In which countries do you already integrate this program, and what are your current plans?
So currently we are focusing only for 2 markets. The first one is United States. The second one is Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan because it's our motherland. The United States because we have a great market. The first market is Hawaii. We have 2 contracts with the Department of the Public Safety. And the second one is we are creating the video analytics platform for the moving companies. And also we have here a good partners. We are together creating the startup for blind people. It's a smart glasses, and with the help of our large vision model, we can describe anything. Yeah.
It is also testing in the countries like Malaysia, Philippines. Am I right?
Yeah. So currently we have a lot of leads from the MENA, the Middle East and the North Africa, and also Malaysia, Philippines, Hong Kong, Macau, and also Singapore. We have pilot in Singapore, and also we have a pilot from Hong Kong. But for Malaysia and Philippines currently, I think it's next plans.
Aybek, as we wrap up, could you please share with your plans how you're planning to integrate your project into other countries, and do you have any plans for any other AI projects?
So our algorithm is like a similar to OpenAI, the OpenAI's model. The OpenAI creates the model for texting field. We are creating the video field. So we are just taking the business model from OpenAI, and the first thing is to creating our algorithm. The second is to creating the platform, and the third one is to creating the peer-to-peer platform for everyone. We opens our APIs for everyone, and after that, every engineers and the companies can take our APIs and create own products.
Thank you, Aybek, for joining us to our program. We wish you best of luck with your project.
Thank you. Thank you.
And last but not least, President Tokayev held a formal gathering at the presidential residence to mark International Women's Day. Addressing the guests, he emphasized the profound role of women in giving life deeper meaning and extended his warmest wishes to the women of Kazakhstan. My colleague Aynur Mangale attended the event at the Akorda and is ready to share more details. Aynur, welcome. So please tell us about the atmosphere at the ceremony and what else President Tokayev had to say.
Hello, Doreen. Thank you very much. Yes, the atmosphere today at Akorda, official residence of the President of Kazakhstan, was very special. President Tokayev highlighted the role of the women and their contribution into the development of the Kazakh society and virtually into every sector of the Kazakh economy. The head of state also reminded everyone of the great heroes, women of Kazakhstan, whose names, as he put it, are inscribed in the history in golden letters. This includes rulers such as Tomyris and Bopai Hanem, as well as heroic figures like Aliya Moldagulova and Manshuk Mametova, who sacrificed their lives for victory in World War II, and Hiwas Dospanova, among others. Today, as President Tokayev noted, more and more women are taking on responsible positions and achieving success in various fields of the economy and business. This, of course, is thanks to the creative energy and determination of women. I believe that a very important part of today's reception at Akorda was the awarding of state honors to women working and demonstrating outstanding results in various sectors of the economy. This included doctors, teachers, police officers, military personnel, railway workers, and civil servants. For the first time, the head of state awarded honorary titles. Honored Industrial Worker of Kazakhstan to Mayra Yermanova, and Honored Builder of Kazakhstan to Olga Shalutko. Let's listen to a fragment of her speech now.
I
have received the highest national honor, Honored Builder of Kazakhstan. But this award is not mine alone, it belongs to our entire team, architects, engineers and hydrotechnicians. The year of 2025 has been declared the year of skilled professionals, and this recognition is truly well deserved.
And of course, Dorian, we noticed that women were very emotional because to receive the award from the President's hands is a big honor. And what surprised me and what caught my attention was the moments of interaction between women, how they supported and congratulated each other, rejoicing in each other's achievements. We had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Karligash Bakirova, who at the beginning of this year, being on board a flight from Astana to Moscow, literally saved the life of a passenger. She also insisted on an emergency landing after the elderly passenger suddenly felt unwell. And thanks to her actions, the passenger's life was saved and his condition was stabilized.
Every doctor, all my colleagues wrote to me and shared how deeply unsettling this moment was and how they fear finding themselves in a similar situation, especially those working outside intensive care units. I'm very glad that this achievement has been recognized. We will continue to do our best for the sake of our nation and to improve the health of our people.
Member of the Majlis of the Parliament of Kazakhstan, Aygul Kuspan, who also received an award today, highlighted a very important point. Representatives of working professions were honored, which serves as a great motivation for their future achievements.
It is a great honor for me to receive this award, especially from the President's hands. It was both an emotional and joyous moment. I believe this recognition is the result of my years of work. I have spent more than 25 years in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and now serve in the Majlis. It is truly gratifying to see my efforts acknowledged. Today I was honored alongside women from skilled professions. They were so modest, yet it was clear that each of them plays a vital role in their field. It was incredibly moving to see these women who have also earned this award through their dedication and hard work.
Overall, Doreen, it was a pleasure to be in such an atmosphere filled with joy, with smiles, and of course sincere positive emotions. And I think it's very important to preserve and to multiply such moments in our challenging times. That's it for my part. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Aynur. On behalf of our entire team, I would also like to congratulate you on International Women's Day.
Oh, thank you very much.
As well as all the incredible women out there. After all, this day is not just about celebrating spring and femininity. It is, above all, a day of equality and the ongoing fight for women's rights. And that is something we must never forget. That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.